Nespresso.
Așa începe totul. Poate lua orice formă. Poate face ca totul să fie mai bine. Este fiecare sezon care trece. Este apreciat de toți, dar obținut cu mult efort. Uneori nu costă mult, dar are puterea de a schimba totul. Hai să redescoperim cu toții gustul cu Act for Food. Carrefour. Te bucuri de tot ce e mai bun.
Nazzuro este un ecosistem inovativ care purifică apa și o transformă într-o apă echilibrată pentru o viață bună. Ecosistemul de purificare a apei Nazzuro produce și apă frițante, apă rece sau apă fierbinte, fiind perfect adaptabil în ceea ce privește volumul, atât pentru consumul casnic, cât și pentru un hotel, un restaurant sau pentru birou. Nazzuro este soluția inovatoare, ecologică și sustenabilă a viitorului. Nazzuro elimină în totalitate necesitatea achiziționării apei din comerț. Ecosistemul Nazzuro este soluția care a fost adoptată și de anumite industrii care au nevoie de apă cu un grad de puritate foarte înalt pentru producția unor alimente de top. Azi aveți bucuria de a gusta și savura apa proaspăt purificată Nazzuro, echilibrată și mineralizată, servită în recipientele noastre premium. Iar de mâine, dacă doriți, veți putea servi apa Nazzuro direct în casa dumneavoastră, biroul sau compania pe care o dețineți. Nazzuro Aqua. Apă echilibrată. Apă bună.
Mai așteptăm un pic să vă ocupați locurile. Bună dimineața! Mă bucur tare mult că sunteți într-un număr atât de mare. Așa. Bun, deci începem. Bună dimineața încă o dată. Ia să vedem. Bună dimineața! Ei, da, gata. Deci e clar, ați băut cafea Nespresso, ați băut, deci e ok. Bun, bună dimineața, numele meu este Ionuț Bonoiu. Mă bucur tare mult că sunteți alături de noi în această dimineață. După cum vedeți, avem o ediție specială a evenimentului Forbes Power Breakfast, o ediție care, spunem noi, vă va schimba și ne va schimba perspectiva asupra leadership-ului. Tema ediției de astăzi este Beyond the Deal, Leading with Vision and in Times of Change, astfel că vom descoperi cum ne putem dezvolta viziunea și abilitățile necesare pentru a naviga prin momente de incertitudine, cum aș zice că de ceva ani încoace ne-am tot obișnuit cu această incertitudine care, cum se zice pe românește, is here to stay. Bun, în acest cadru pe care încercăm să-l facem de fiecare dată la evenimentele Forbes, informal și familiar, credem că putem să transmitem mesaje bune, mesaje importante, să avem o discuție relevantă, la o cafea bună, că tot spuneam un pic mai devreme, care să ne inspire și să ne energizeze și să discutăm, chiar dacă într-un mod relaxat, și despre teme serioase și importante. Înainte de toate, știți, dorim să le mulțumim partenerilor noștri, cei care susțin evenimentele noastre, în mod particular acest eveniment. Forbes Power Breakfast este un eveniment inspirat de Nespresso și Carrefour, Strategic Partners Automobile Bavaria, TEILOR, Eli Parks, Dynamic Mobility and Growth Partners International Alexander Holding, Official Water Nazzuro Aqua, Platinum Partner MOOV Leasing, Tech Partner Buzz Events, Floral, Storyteller, Maison, Dadoo. Astăzi, după cum v-am zis, o să discutăm despre idei inovatoare, tendințe globale, soluții practice în M&A și este un privilegiu să avem alături de noi doi speakeri de excepție. Le vedeți și pe scenă și în spate, în poza din spatele meu. Suntem astăzi împreună cu Oana Ijdelea, Managing Partner Ijdelea Associates, și puteți să o aplaudați. Și cu Jennifer Fondrevay, founder Day1 Ready. Puteți să o aplaudați și pe ea. Bun, înainte de toate aș vrea să celor care nu s-au bucurat încă de cafea să facă acest lucru ulterior, la finalul ediției, să se bucure de gustul unic al cafelei Nespresso, să vă hidratați cu apa perfect echilibrată Nazzuro Aqua și, evident, pentru cei dintre dumneavoastră care nu ați făcut încă acest lucru, să probați bijuteriile din colecțiile unice TEILOR și, după caz, să le luați cu dumneavoastră mai departe acasă. Discuția de astăzi a început în limba română, se va continua în engleză și probabil sperăm noi să nu facem prea multă romgleză pe parcurs, așa că now I will switch to English and now Jennifer can understand me. The first part was about an intro about the wonderful events that we are doing here, and so before we begin our discussion, let me introduce the speakers. Oana Ijdelea, Managing Partner at Ijdelea Associates, is a recognized expert in energy and M&A with 18 experience of leading strategic investments and pioneering projects across Romania. She also has extensive board expertise. She serves as a board member of Black Sea Oil and Gas, a venture of the Carlyle Group and EBRD. And from this position, she supports the advancement of Romania's energy security and energy independence, of course, a very important topic nowadays. Oana is also a board member of the National Union of Romanian Bars, supporting the advancement of the legal profession, and additionally, Oana is heavily involved in Hospice Casa Speranței. Let's give her also a round of applause. And we also have the honor of welcoming Jennifer, who joined us from the United States. She guides CEOs and executives through the complex human challenges of business transformation and mergers and acquisition. With the success of her business book on M&A, Now What? You can show them the book. Yeah. She has become an internationally respected thought leader in transformational change, regularly contributing to Harvard Business Review, Fast Company, and, of course, Forbes. So, welcome, Jennifer. So, my first question, since there is a picture of the two of you together, and this is not Photoshop, this is real photo. Let's talk about how you both met, yeah? Because in the presentation here, I have the information, but you already know that they have met at the International Bar Association discussing where Jennifer was facilitating a discussion with female M&A lawyers, right? So the discussion revolved around your article on Forbes, of course, called "Women Possesses a Secret Weapon for Merger and Acquisition Success." So first of all, before the information about how you met, what was the main takeaway from that article?
Okay. So first, I should highlight that it was a man who helped me discover that women have superpowers. I know, where are our brave men? Where are they? I know there's some there, okay. Well, I was interviewing CEOs as research for my book on mergers and acquisitions. And in talking to one CEO in particular, the CEO said to me, "Why are you writing a book about mergers and acquisitions? Haven't they already been written?" And I said, "Well, I've had the experience of being through 3 separate multi-billion-dollar merger and acquisition deals. I'd been on all sides of the deal, and I felt that the people piece of a merger or an acquisition never seemed to be the focus, yet could undermine the success of the deal." And so when I talked to him about that, his comment to me was, "You know, a guy would never think about that." And he didn't say it in a harsh way. His realization was a woman would pick up on the fact that this is the part that undermines the success of the deal. And so his comment to me was, not only am I happy to contribute to your book, but you need to write this book. More women being involved in mergers and acquisitions would help humanize that experience. So I wrote the article, as you highlighted, and in presenting about superpowers in New York at the IBA event, I went through the 5 superpowers. So very quickly, the 5 superpowers that I identified were that women illuminate the human side of business, not just a merger and acquisition, but of business. Women also use their intuition to see things that may not be obvious to others. Women also, in that regard, I feel like can you hear me okay? I'm coming in and out. Women also, in seeing things, they also have people open up to them in ways that they might not open up to other people. And on that particular superpower, I would have to say, a number of women told me, "I shouldn't have given that up. It's my secret. People open up to me." So beyond that, then the last 2 are that women can anticipate future challenges thanks to their intuition, and then lastly, that that women simplify the message so that everyone can understand. And so in talking about these 5 superpowers, I asked the women in the audience, what superpowers do you see missing from this list? And for anyone who knows Oana, she was the first person to raise her hand and highlight the superpowers that she thought were missing from the list that I had. And from that moment on, I determined I had a Romanian sister that I did not know that I had, because not only did she bring up some very valid points, and I'll pass it to her so that she can share, but equally in that, she was straightforward and said, here's how we can, as women, help to be more successful in mergers and acquisitions. All right, so now I'll let you tell your version of the story.
And what was the answer?
Well,
we are all curious about, should it be one answer or a bullet list with...
Well, I had the resilience and fast adaptability on my list. First and foremost, actually, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. What Ionut said in the beginning, it's actually 80% true. So for a very long time, I have been starting my day with a coffee and with a glass of water. They constantly are an espresso coffee and Nazzuro water. On the diamond side and the jewelry side, somehow my husband has a slightly different opinion on that it should be special, so every decade or so, you know, especially that we have been married for some time. But I'm trying to figure that one out as well. I also want to express from the beginning my deep gratitude to Raluca for bringing all this together in this very special format. Raluca, everybody that knows, you know how wonderful you are and how you are a woman which in particular empowers women and make women shine. So thank you very much. And now, returning to the conversation that Jennifer started, yes, it was a genuine contact and sharing of real information and experience with a clear assumption of responsibility that some of the things that are said are not necessarily politically correct. And what politically correct means is always very fluid, depending on the times that the world moves through. But I do believe that tenacity, resilience, and this amazing power of adaptability that women have are really special and should be put at good use, not only by women, but also by men. And I have to say that, just like in Jennifer's case, it was a man who I believe showed me this way forward. His name is God, but but now, you know, looking in hindsight, after having been in this business for so long, I realized that more than ever, people need to come together and use the best of their human side, actually, to advance and to prosper. And taking this a step further, I think an important point in our journey of growth is to recognize our weaknesses, to recognize and accept our failures. But don't ever see them as a dead end, but actually see them as a learning opportunity. And as I think not only in Romanian, but other people have this say, when actually God closes a door, opens a window. So I think this is also what is happening here, and looking at leadership and how each of us can promote our personal agendas, our organization's agendas, our policies. We need to take into consideration all of this. Churchill said, or famously said, that there is any problem in this world that can be decently solved in a 20-minute discussion. As a mother, I can tell you that if I'm able to explain something to a 5-year-old, which is close to my daughter's age, yes, I think I can explain anything to anybody and make them understand and also make them come and work together.
So, thank you. You've mentioned human. I have a question here. I have a topic here about the human element in M&A leadership. Because M&A is very transactional, yeah?
Right.
But you, in your book, you say that the human factor is also very critical. Even though the M&A is very transactional, the human factor is very critical. Can you share a moment when somehow prioritizing people over processes lead to better business outcome?
Well, first, I would want to add just that same conversation that I had with the male CEO. His comment of a man would never think to write this type of book was because he felt, understandably, that the focus for the deal is the transaction, the numbers. Numbers are measurable. Those are the KPIs, your key performance indicators. And so for him, his comment to me was, women bring that knowledge just naturally as part of looking at what's the human side of this? How will people feel on the receiving end of this? How can we, as a company, do better by the human side of business? And so my motivation to write that article about superpowers, and Oana said it as well, wasn't just to highlight that women have superpowers, but that women can bring something in partnership with men on the transaction piece. Because during a deal, you're looking for the signals that confirm the deal needs to be done, and this is a good idea. And it's why, in writing the article in the book, I wanted to elevate the human side. And I will say a great example of this was last year. I had the privilege of coming to Bucharest for the first time when UniCredit invited me, as they had just announced the acquisition of Alpha Bank. And so a big part of that experience, and the reason why I was impressed with both banks, is it still not high enough? Wow, I've never been told that I'm not loud enough. Okay. I'm really holding it tight. Can you hear me now? Okay. My mother would be very proud because my mother said, "You're way too loud, Jennifer, all the time." But in this case, with UniCredit and Alpha Bank, I was so impressed with is oftentimes I don't get brought in because the senior leadership is worried. We're going to have a woman come in and talk about emotions and the journey of a merger and acquisition. So for me, the fact that UniCredit and Alpha Bank thought it was important to bring in someone like me to talk about the emotional journey that you can go on when, as a company, you're being acquired and your identity has been wrapped up in that company, and now it's becoming something you don't know. And your first assumption as a human being is to assume it's not going to be a good thing. It's just human nature. And so the focus on the transaction, while I understand that, for me, bringing up the human side and working with companies who really understand that you need to talk about this to help people on that journey, the importance of that is absolutely critical. And so I'm always appreciative when companies hire me because it says they understand that piece of it.
So, sorry, first of all, my colleagues are telling me that you shouldn't use the hand to put it like this because it doesn't make you look good in the picture.
Oh, wow.
So just
we should have gone through microphone tutorial
so
before we
you
came
need
up here.
to hold it
How's
from
this? This is
like
good?
this, you know? No.
I'm just kidding.
Just up, yeah.
Okay.
So because we also our colleagues need to have the best looking pictures of the event, so we need to help them also. So
does this look natural?
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway,
sorry.
thank
Oana,
you.
over to you.
So give us, please, some examples of the human, when the human prevail over the businesses and over the businesses outcomes.
I think, that leaving KPI aside, the human side of it always prevails. And what we have found, and what I have found in my experience, is that the earlier you put forward an onboarding process of everybody which is involved, you know, and you make everybody feel included, that they're not going to lose their jobs, for example, following a takeover, that everyone might change their place, but actually they will find a sweet spot and a comfortable spot similar to the one that they were used to in the old format, but maybe with more excitement, with more elements of novelty. So this kind of onboarding process, I believe, is very important. And we have seen, indeed, companies and organizations which are so strict that they cannot see beyond the numbers and beyond the churn. They need to be on a constant churn to have the deals, to move to the next deal. You know, it's the ink is not dried out on the last set of transaction documents, and they just think of how they're going to sign the next one. But what actually makes a business successful and what actually educates people to welcome these kind of processes is this human onboarding. And the earlier organizations do that and prepare their people, the better will be for everybody. For the organization itself, for the people, for the investors, for the lenders, for the shareholders, for society, and last but not least, for the state.
Jennifer also mentioned when she first talked about intuition. Now, I would like to emphasize a little bit on the intuition. I will ask first, Oana. So we guys like technology, we like cars, and now most of us probably embrace AI and data analytics and so on, and we enjoy this. Sometimes we use AI to help us with our decision. Let's hope that they are still our decision. How do you balance data analytics and AI and technology and all this big data with intuition?
Well, this is a very difficult question for somebody like me. I have a car for 14 years now, and there are still some buttons in my car which I have no idea what they work and what they serve for. But we can't escape the realities of our times. And yes, artificial intelligence is important, and all the types of systems and programs that artificial intelligence is putting forward. But I believe that, especially in leadership, people should make decisions with their heart, with the comment that the heart must be here. If it is 25 to 30 centimeters down, it might not work as well. And actually, having this moving up the ladder of your heart going to your brains, it's difficult, but it can be done. And we have technology that is a road opener. And it's supposed to make our life easier. But there are certain processes, certain interactions, which in my view, will never be able to be replaced by machines. No matter how human that machine will try to fool us that they are. So yes, use it as a tool, use it wisely, use it by controlling it, not by letting the machine control you. If you want, it's just like with dogma. People should stay away from dogma. We should use our own reasoning, our own thinking, our own feelings and opinions in making life decisions and choosing a path and the way forward. Because dogma is something highly attractive. It provides comfort, it provides a state of well-being and something. People are a creature of habit, so that's why dogma it's so tempting. But once you are in that, and you want to get out of it eventually, it might be too late, or you just won't be able to do that. And you'll continue to be an individual led by how other people think. And taking that back to the question, what if we get to be in a situation where actually it's not us being led by the way people think, but being led by the way machines think?
But on the other hand, it helps you. I mean, the data-driven analysis and AI.
Absolutely.
It helps you accelerate. I mean, you need to accelerate as much as you can, right?
Absolutely, and we can't communicate using flying pigeons. That's clear. But it should be done with measure, and with the proper measure adapted to our needs and our organization's needs. And speaking now as a lawyer, I can tell you that, yes, AI helps law firms perform better, improves the time of response. But to date, we have not identified something that can replace the materiality of the work result generated by a human mind.
Jennifer, can you build on that and somehow maybe share a situation where, I don't know, instinct proved more important or sometimes than analysis and data and so on?
Well, the best example I can give is me being here today. That was purely instinct. Oana met me in New York last year. She raised her hand, contributed to the discussion, and I went up to her afterwards and I said, "Thank you. I love those contributions. Your examples were fabulous." And so she told me she was from Bucharest. I said, "Oh, I fell in love with Bucharest. UniCredit had invited me there as part of their cultural roadshow. And I just loved it. I told my daughter she has to move to Bucharest. Oana gave me this book. None of this was data-driven. This me being here, she took a chance. She said, "You know, Jennifer, I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I think that we should have a conversation on a bigger platform." And she meant it, and she did it. How many of you have said, "Oh, let's have lunch," and then you never have lunch, right? Someone's waiting for the other person to follow through. And she not only followed through, but had this event, a privilege of being here. None of this was data-driven. We don't have business together yet. And I'm confident we will. But for me, that's an example of data absolutely is important. And I think AI, as Oana has pointed out, can make us smarter about the decisions that we make. But to build on what Oana said, your intuition, you own the most powerful data processor in the world. Your brain has been taking in information since you were born. Why would you deny that? It is a data processor that you own. So to marry that and couple that in your decision making, so I'm confident that we will do business, or we're just going to take this out on the road. It's going to be our road show. But for me, this event today is a perfect example of where instinct tells you, I think this is going to be something good, and a machine can never take that away from you.
You've mentioned one of the most important transactions in Romania about UniCredit acquiring Alpha in Romania, and most of the times the M&A and the due diligence are very long processes, and afterwards most of the time the transaction is not done, but after it's done, it's also taking a lot of time, and it's a burden for the people,
Yeah.
for the leaders for solve them. And we now have let's say a word that we are using more and more every day. It's called resilience. Yeah. How can you have resilience and in this very complex, let's say complex transaction, decisions that take long and they somehow overwhelm you? How can you, as a, let's say as a participant, as a manager, as a lawyer involved in the transaction, build your resilience?
I typically recommend to just drink a lot of vodka. But I've been told yesterday by my walking tour guide that Vishnata, did I say that correctly? Yeah. Cherry liqueur, I'm going to try that. It looks very strong. I think that can also help build resilience.
And it's much better.
But truthfully, for me, it's laughter. And I know that sounds unusual, but for me, when you think of times where you have been working with your team and you are working hours on end and there's no end in sight. When you can laugh about the situation, when you can have a moment of levity, and again, that is a human aspect that a machine can never replace. And actually, I'll use the UniCredit experience that I had again. So as part of my talk, one of the things I highlight is that when people are going through an acquisition, it's a big transition, and they can grieve the loss of their old company, and you have to acknowledge that and be supportive of that. And so an exercise that I do is I use music. And in this event with UniCredit and members of the Alpha Bank leadership team, I said, okay, so I want you to think of a song that best describes how you felt when you first heard the announcement. Then I want you to think of a song that best describes how you feel now. And then I want you to think of a song that best describes how you want to feel 90 days from now, or when the deal has gone through and you are in the middle of it. And so I asked the audience, I said, does anyone want to share a song that best describes how you felt when the announcement came through? And a gentleman stood up and he said, Mamma Mia! And it helped the whole audience. And it turns out, I think he was the CFO for Alpha Bank, right? And so for me, but it's an example of, because a merger and acquisition, particularly a multi-billion-dollar one, it's a long journey. And particularly for banking, you have governance, you have so many hurdles that you have to overcome. But humor, the ability to laugh and connect with people, is what can help, what I have seen in my experience, helps you build that resilience beyond just things like taking a walk or pausing and breathing. Laughter, for me, has been a great resilience builder. And I think that's also why Oana and I connected as well.
Yeah, totally agree, and I would add to that as an input coming from an advisor to the transaction. Management of expectation is very important, and this is a two-way process. It's between the companies involved and their advisors to the process itself, and it always has to go beyond what the legal deadlines are, what the regular industry standard is. For example, Romania, it's a very interesting jurisdiction from that perspective. Not sexy at all from the fastness of how deals are approved. FDA clearance in Romania takes forever, even if you are a Romanian and you make an investment here. If you go beyond a certain threshold, you need to go through an FDA clearance process. Just to give an example that probably many of you already are familiar with. So humor and a good management of expectations, so that you know how you lead your people through the process, are always extremely helpful. Because when things get slower, people start thinking, oh, I think the deal is dead. Some throw a party, some are upset. When things accelerate, this happens again. You know, the ones that threw the first party, now they start mourning, and the other ones are happy that things are sliding. And actually, all this process itself has to be properly managed to make people feel comfortable and secure. And once you have a landing, then based on the leadership's vision and the direction in which the company and the organization must go through, then the hardest decision comes. Who stays, who goes, who is co-opted to the new team, and so on and so forth.
Could you please, both of you, share a tip for, let's say, very high pressure negotiation, maybe somehow from something from your previous experience, or let's say what to do and what not to do in a very high pressure negotiation?
I'll let the lawyer go first.
Oh, I think the most horrendous experience I went through was actually a negotiation between an energy company and the government, where we had a very clear cutoff date. The deadline was at midnight, and we had several parties involved in the deal, and in that specific transaction. And I think it was 20 minutes to midnight, and one of the parties on the private side thought that they can win one more penny, and it was not about money, but it was about improving their rights and their position in the overall process. And it was a lawyer who went to that person, slapped him, and said, "Cut the crap. You either do it and you want to do it, or you have wasted everybody's time here, and everyone in which are present, including their organizations, will hate you for the rest of your life." And you have situations like this, and you have people who feel that they have just a tiny little bit of power, and that they can play with that, and play with the other people, and play with the other organizations, and spin it. And usually the gain is minimal or non-existent. In reality, it's only in their mind. Sometimes it's ego-driven, sometimes it's lack of knowledge-driven, sometimes it's driven by the mere personality that individual has. And yes, this I think was the harshest process I have ever participated in, and seeing somebody had that kind of a courage, you know, to do that.
It was the most physical thing.
Okay,
it was not a physical approach.
It was not a physical punch him in the face, but that was it, and it was with simple words. Dă-o măsa de treabă, ce facem aici?
You know, it's interesting because I get asked that question all the time by CEOs when I'm advising them. What's the one thing I can do to make this successful? And my advice always is, you have to think of this as a marriage, which ideally is not high stakes negotiations, but can be. But if you think of this as a marriage, think of the marriages, the partnerships you most admire. There's love there, but more than anything, there is respect. Respect for the other person. When you respect the other side and you bring out the better version of that person because you respect them, you will always get respect in kind. And so I say to CEOs who ask me that question, if you come to this partnership with respect for the other side, I have rarely seen that you won't get respect back. And if you keep in mind that this is a marriage, you both need each other. This can often be forgotten. You both need each other. There's a reason why you're coming into this partnership. And so if you start with the standpoint of respect and bringing out the best in the other person and having them feel valued, those negotiations set that deal up for success moving forward. And so for me, the basic principle of respect is critical.
Thank you. Now we move to a different topic. I'm using your article in Harvard Business Review called Us versus Them. So the idea is to gain and maintaining trust. How can you use trust and communication and business transformation and M&A and so on? How can you gain somehow trust? How can you build trust within a person that sometimes it's, let's say, not necessarily an adversary, but it's not your friend per se?
Right. Well, and it's interesting, in that article, I identified the assumption is during a merger and acquisition, our company versus their company. That's the us versus them. But my research showed that there's other dynamics of us versus them that can play out. Senior leaders versus frontline leaders. Because typically the frontline leader thinks, well, of course you're happy. You're getting all the money. You're getting all these great things. Now I have twice the amount of work. Why didn't I know about this deal? They feel blindsided. So that equally can play a negative role in the success. And then there's the us versus them of who stays versus who goes. The unfortunate reality of mergers and acquisitions is it has negative baggage attached to it. And so for me, identifying those three dynamics of us versus them, getting to trust is critical. And it builds on the point that I was making before about respect. When you respect people in your communications, when you are clear and transparent and consistent. So even when you don't have the information or you aren't yet necessarily clear on how everything's moving forward, but if you consistently and clearly communicate, the power of that communication helps to build up trust. Because the reality is, and I say this to CEOs all the time, the moment the deal is announced, trust goes to negative 10. Only because more often than not, people feel as though they assume the worst. So your job is to bring that trust back to zero at least, and then move forward from there. And communications is absolutely critical as part of that. I find more often leaders are resistant to communicate because they're worried, I don't know what to say, I don't necessarily have all the answers, but sharing that with people and having them see that you recognize where they are in the journey, where they are lacking information, the communication aspect of that is key. And then the last piece that I would add is role modeling the behavior. Again, these are things that I talk about in superpowers, but role modeling the behavior you expect of other people. More often than not, when you see a leader, the ones that you respect, it's because they're role modeling what they expect of you. And to build and gain trust, not just beyond the respect and communications, but role modeling what you expect of other people helps people to feel that they can trust you.
And now the lawyer's perspective, how can you foster transparency without sharing too much information?
It's just like Jennifer said, always lead by example. You cannot ask of other people what you are not doing on a regular and continuous basis. And then you present the rule book. So this is me, and people get to see me how I am every day, how I am in my professional life, how this also reflects in my private life, because for most of us, you can't separate who we are publicly from who we are in private. Then they check the rule book and see if that matches. And then it takes time, and time here is important, for people to come to the realization that what you project, what you expect, and what you formally ask actually fall in line and are totally or as much as possible aligned. I have never seen a performing organization where the top management was coming at work at 11 o'clock. Usually the highest performing organizations are those where the CEO is the one who lights up the building in the morning, and most of the time is the one leaving the last at the end of the day. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, or that people who don't do this on a regular basis are less worthy of their positions, but most of the time this is a reality. And that's how people follow. And that's how people go beyond their comfort zone of, this is my job description, 9 to 5, coming to work in the morning, the first thought in their head is, what am I going to have for lunch? Usually. And actually take them one step further to do better for the organizations, and in the end do better for themselves. Because only out of this comfort zone, people find their passions, discover what they are good at, find things that interest them, and make a greater contribution.
You know, Oana said something, I want to go back to made me think of it. When I talk about communications, because what I've seen happen too often is people think, well, we've communicated. We put out an email, we did a town hall, it should be clear to everyone. And again, it was a man who said to me once, he said, Jennifer, I feel like I've said everything to them, but then when you say it, people understand. And I'm not saying this is some unique superpower I have, but he said, women, you just simplify things. And the communication, the simpler that you can make that communication so that people understand what the vision is, their role in that vision moving forward, that's absolutely critical. So I wanted to just highlight the communication piece. It's simplifying of the messaging. And by the way, I'm a little worried because I keep saying superpowers, women's superpowers. Men have these superpowers too. I absolutely believe that. But for me, the reason why I wrote the article with Forbes was to identify these are superpowers that we all can have as human beings. And the more we role model the strength of using these superpowers, the more it will normalize the behavior for everyone. But for me, the simplification of communication helps to build that trust.
And to build further on the, let's say, key leadership skills for the leaders in nowadays, what should a leader, a CEO, or a leader with a company do to better manage change, uncertainty, and not necessarily on the M&A, but we see uncertainty every day, right? I mean, we see the Nasdaq booming one day, plunging the other, and so how can you manage that?
Do you want me to go first? Well, you know, here's what I'll say, and I did a walking tour yesterday through Bucharest. I feel like Romanians have a lot to teach me about navigating uncertainty and being able to manage through that. Because my comment, I say you don't navigate uncertainty, you embrace it. Because once you embrace uncertainty and you recognize that your energy needs to move forward, not backward, you see the opportunities ahead of you. And on that walking tour, I was just amazed at the history of Bucharest. I feel like I have a lot to learn, right? It can be part of your DNA, an understanding of, I know it will be better on the other side, and we have to embrace this and move forward. So when I work with leaders, I talk about that need to help people understand, to embrace the uncertainty, to move forward through it, that there is opportunity ahead of you, but if you stay attached to the past, to past achievements, to what things used to be, you will stay stuck. I know that was the case for me. I've gone through 3 multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions. I've seen that reality. But when you help people to embrace that uncertainty, to move forward, and the advice that when I'm talking with organizations is focusing on your talent, your effort, and your attitude. Focus on what you can control. As you said, the NASDAQ. We can't control the NASDAQ. But what we can control is right in front of us, the people around us. And so helping them to embrace the uncertainty, to see that opportunity, helping them to focus on what they can control, their talent, effort, and attitude, helps them to move forward. But again, I feel like I'm speaking to an audience who really understands the power of embracing uncertainty already.
Thank you. Oana?
Stay calm. When hard decisions are to be made, keep your cool. I think this is the most important thing that a leader or a head of an organization can project. Because if the leader is calm and confident that there will be a way forward, everyone comes, and wants to embrace that and to get transferred that same feeling, no matter how difficult it is. And exactly, it's the circle of things that we can actually control. It's very small. We cannot control what the new US president policies are, how Romania will react. We cannot control what will happen in Romania in two weeks' time with the elections. We can't even have an idea about what will happen in the post-election areas, and these are important milestones for our country. But we can control how we brace ourselves and go through the process as these events unfold. And in my view, it's crucial not to lose your head, lose your temper. Otherwise, yes, if you are a little extrovert and sometimes a little choleric, and that's how you are built, it's fine. But when important things happen, you need to keep a cool head.
As we say in Romanian, don't crack under pressure.
Well, and I want to add to that because I talk about that in my book as well. What's interesting is oftentimes the leaders who you have when you're going through rapid growth, they may not always be the best leaders to get you through uncertainty. And exactly as Oana said, more often, and this is what I say to CEOs, be prepared that new leaders can be elevated. You have people, I call them the former rock star in my book, the person who was a rock star, super successful, but when the metrics for success change, they can stumble because what got them so successful was based on those earlier metrics. And so the opportunity for new leaders to rise who have that calmness, who have that ability to see, okay, we were on high growth, but now we're going through a period of uncertainty, and here's how we're going to get through it. So I say also be open to new leaders that can rise to the occasion and be the person who will lead you forward.
Thank you, and we will take some couple of questions maybe from the audience, but until you are thinking, if you are like one, you are already raising your hand, but no. Until that, I have one last question about the, let's say, regarding the future and the role of women, yeah, of women evolving the leadership position within the M&A and business transformation, but also extending the perspective.
I'll let you go first.
We'll just keep continuing doing the good job that we have always done since mankind appeared in this universe. That's my view. And do better. Each day, try to do better.
So to add on that, I would say my motivation to write this book. Again, it was thanks to, and that one CEO conversation stuck with me, but it was many men who told me, this is a book that needs to be written, and more women getting into mergers and acquisitions will help them to be more successful. And so for me, it's a partnership. It's both sides bringing their strengths and skills, men and women, in partnership with AI eventually, or I shouldn't say eventually, right now. But when I say that, it's the reason why I wrote the article. I wanted to highlight that women have these superpowers so that more women would lean into that. I saw too many women through all these due diligence meetings that I was in, holding back. And I've even had men who reacted to the article and said, if more women lean into their superpowers, I think we will be more successful. And the beauty of that is that will normalize the behavior for men and women, to see that intuition, to see the simplification of messaging and communications, to have people open up to you can be immensely powerful in getting business done. So for me, it's, as Oana said, keep it up, because the more women do, the more it normalizes that behavior for everyone.
Thank you very much. We are 2 minutes late, but if there are...
We've got time.
Yeah, we've got all the time in the world, right? So, please, un microfon, vă rog frumos. Vine acum colegul meu. There's a man delivering the microphone, right?
I hope it works. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for this very interesting debate. And I have a question mainly for Jennifer. One of the things which can make a big success or a big failure in a merger or acquisition relates not only to the operational part, which is always one of the big reasons for failure, but also in cultural integration. This is an aspect which has not been taken into consideration for very many years. It became more and more obvious lately in the last maybe 5-10 years, 15 the maximum. And I could see, because I also worked in this area by default, let's say, I had to go through these processes in different entities. And I could understand that it's more than a key element. And as you said that merger acquisition is like a marriage, and usually the woman gives the tone of the family. What about your experience, and how do you think that woman can make it faster success than a man could do? Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for bringing that up. I love that question. And again, I'm always going to say I think both men and women can do this. And I will confess, so I'm half French. I grew up with a French grandmother who lived with us when I was little. So I grew up with multicultural sensibilities. And for me, the lesson that I learned that I do an exercise around when I talk about culture integration is to have culture integration succeed, think like a tourist. Not a bad tourist, but a good tourist. In that, when you are thinking about going to another country and you want to really enjoy the trip, so I use as an example, we're going to Paris. You research the country beforehand, you learn some of their phrases, you learn their language, you try and figure out how to ask to go to the bathroom, or if I want to order something off a menu, but you learn the language as a good tourist. And then when you are there, as part of that experience, you ask people, hey, what are things that I should do? How do I get to know Paris? How do I really make sure that I'm enjoying the time while I'm here? And when you have that mindset of thinking like a good tourist, that you want to experience and really learn about someone else's culture, you stay curious and open. And so I do think that women have a capacity to role model this behavior better. But again, to me, it's an opportunity to have both men and women emulate that. And I recently was invited by Kellanova. They're being acquired by M&M Mars, and I had this same conversation. And Kellanova is a multinational. And so for them, the concept of thinking like a tourist, how do I think in a way that keeps me curious and open? So not only do I want to learn about their culture, but I teach them my culture as well. I remember when I was a little kid on the playground, I would always get asked, because I spoke French before I spoke English, and all the little kids on the playground would say, "What's a swear word in French?" And I'd say, "Merde," right? And they thought I was so cool. But you start to try and learn each other's language, and that is, again, towards building trust that goes a long way.
Thank you. Maybe, Oana, you can also develop on the different culture differences between state companies, private companies, multinational companies. These are also, let's say, different countries.
Yeah, well, here I think the conversation will take more than a couple of minutes, but on a high level, I think it's pretty much just like Jennifer explained. Try to understand from where the other one is coming from. Try to understand what drives them, what motivates them, what scares them. And this is very important. It's one of the most important elements. What scares people? What scares organizations? Because it's not always the same. And what for them might seem as something huge, for others, it's like peanuts, nonsense. And trying to understand a little bit, just a little bit, these aspects, also allows you to present yourself better. And actually, instead of coming as someone from the other side of the table, which will remain on the other side of the table when the table is gone, you actually try to build a bridge. But the bridge, you can start building it from your side, but also from the other side. And this kind of reciprocity, I think, is valid for any kind of relationship, as a matter of fact.
Thank you. We have time for one more question, if we have. Yes. Immediate. Now there's not a man, there's a woman delivering the microphone, so it's perfect equality.
We're equal opportunity here.
Yes. It was not programmed. It was natural, right?
It was a great meeting today. Thank you very much, Oana and Jennifer. Very, very inspiring. When it comes to mergers and acquisitions, not always, but sometimes there is somebody acquires somebody else. And the sentiment is very strong for the company which is acquired. And when you talk about Mamma Mia, I was thinking if I would be the acquired one and my shares will diminish and the powers will not be there. There is another song of ABBA. I don't remember the name, but it says the loser standing small and something like that. So I was thinking...
The winner takes it all.
Exactly. The winner takes it all and the loser standing small. And I was thinking about that, all your discussion, and I want to ask you, what kind of skills and of understanding you have to have and to share with your colleagues if you are a CEO in these moments when you are acquired by somebody else? Some of the people need to go because this is the situation when there are this kind of mergers and acquisitions. People are thinking of becoming more agile and there are things happening. How can you deal with that in front of your people? Thank you very much.
You bet. So the reason, I'll reveal something personal, the idea to use music for helping people go through these stages from denial to acceptance, because I'd gone through 3 multi-billion-dollar acquisitions, I was thinking, when else have I had this feeling of anger and depression and denial? And I thought, it was a bad breakup. Anybody here ever been through a bad breakup? Only one. Oh, a brave person. Okay. So Listen, for me, bad breakups, it was a little Frank Sinatra, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, Anita Baker, and I thought music. Music is what helped me articulate the emotions, but helped me work through the stages. As part of my book, I have a Spotify playlist that helps people get through the stages. And so your question is a great one, because it takes a level of honesty and transparency to say, I know we all have emotions. Sometimes people don't know how to articulate them. They don't know why they're feeling that way. Their identity may have been with this company and now they're being acquired and they don't know what it's becoming. And they may not realize that they have an opportunity to contribute to the future, because right now all they can see is what they used to be. And so music is a great tool, because everyone loves music in some way, shape, or form. And it helps people articulate how they feel. But what I have seen is so powerful. And I think I'll use the UniCredit example. When the CFO said, "Mamma mia," everyone laughed, but it said, oh, even our senior leaders have this feeling. So when I've done this exercise in large groups, when the senior leadership gets up and says, you know, the song that I thought of when I first heard the news was Yesterday by the Beatles. Just that demonstration of I'm having emotions too, but I know we can get through this together. And it can be very powerful to help people articulate those emotions to move forward. So that's a tool that I recommend that anyone can use. Oana, do you have anything else you would add?
What I would like to add to that is that fundamentally people have two feelings, love and fear. Everything else derives from love and fear. And I think that no matter on which side you are, you know, the one that takes over or the one which is taken over, it's very important to remain true to yourself. Mm-hmm. And to that end, the song that I would think of, and which, I'm sorry, it's a Romanian song, is Copacul by Aurelian Andreescu. And I think that is a very powerful melody with wonderful words that expresses what does it take, with the good and the bad, to remain true to yourself and make it successful.
I'll have to listen to that song now.
Yes. While you are drinking vișinată.
Yeah, exactly, in the bar.
It's a serious song. It's not necessarily a sad song, but it's serious.
Yeah. No,
and powerful.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you very much. Now I will switch to Romanian. Dacă mai sunt întrebări, vă propun să le luăm la micul dejun, căci urmează și micul dejun. Și doresc să le mulțumesc și partenerilor noștri care au susținut acest eveniment. Un eveniment, spuneam, inspirat de Nespresso și Carrefour România, parteneri strategici automobile Bavaria, TEILOR, Eli Parks, International Alexander Holding, în calitate de Dynamic Mobility Growth Partner, apa oficială Nazzuro Aqua, MOOV Leasing, partenerii Platinum, parteneri tehnic Buzz Events și Maison Dadoo în calitate de Floral Storyteller. Mulțumim tare mult, Oana, mulțumim tare mult, Jennifer, aplauze pentru ele și pentru colegii mei care, iată, au făcut încă un eveniment frumos. Mulțumesc tare mult. Te rog.
Vă rog frumos, înainte să plecați, dați-mi voie să mă ridic în fața dumneavoastră. Am vorbit la început, Ionuț a pomenit faptul că sunt un membru activ al bordului Hospice Casa Speranței. Când veți părăsi acest eveniment, noi am pregătit un mic cadou pentru dumneavoastră și în acel cadou veți regăsi pe de o parte un voucher pentru minunata carte a lui Jennifer, pe care din tot sufletul vă recomand să o luați și să o citiți. Este o carte frumos scrisă, ușor scrisă, o lectură extrem de plăcută. Dar veți găsi și acest flyer în care Hospice face o rugăminte către toți cei care pot contribui la construirea unui spital pentru îngrijirea paliativă a copiilor. În prezent, în România, sunt peste 22.000 de copii cu boli terminale și boli incurabile, care se bat pe 40 de locuri și 40 de paturi în spitalele publice și spitalele private din România. O parte din aceste paturi, aproximativ 25%, sunt paturile care se află în organizația hospice. Sunt aici în sală două persoane care mie îmi sunt foarte dragi și fără de care ceea ce face hospice acum și construirea unui nou centru de îngrijire paliativă pentru copii la Adunații Copăceni nu ar fi posibil. Daniela Gătin, CFO-ul Black Sea Oil and Gas, și Mihaela Mihailescu, care este membru în Consiliul de Administrație al BSOG. BSOG a dat multe milioane de dolari pentru acest scop, dar tot nu este îndeajuns pentru a putea realiza acest proiect. Din păcate, Mirela Nemțeanu, care este directorul executiv al Hospice, nu a putut să fie aici alături de noi și să vă vorbească despre aceste lucruri, așa că eu sunt proxy în această situație, dar vă rog din suflet pe toți, căutați acest flyer, citiți să vedeți despre ce este vorba și haideți să încercăm să ajutăm copiii din România, copiii cu boli incurabile în faze terminale. Vă mulțumesc!
Can I add just one thing? So, one, I want to continue to thank Oana for inviting me here, but also to thank you all for coming. I would say the majority of you have no idea who I am. You just, on faith, you know Oana. Forbes, being a power breakfast, I'm confident you had a lot of faith. I want to thank our moderator who jumped in last minute. He's a very brave man. Can you imagine? But really, thank you all for coming. It's a delight to be back in Bucharest. So thank you again.
Thank you, mulțumim, and let's eat. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nespresso.
Așa începe totul. Poate lua orice formă. Poate face ca totul să fie mai bine. Este fiecare sezon care trece. Este apreciat de toți, dar obținut cu mult efort. Uneori nu costă mult, dar are puterea de a schimba totul. Hai să redescoperim cu toții gustul cu Act for Food. Carrefour. Te bucuri de tot ce e mai bun.
Nazzuro este un ecosistem inovativ care purifică apa și o transformă într-o apă echilibrată pentru o viață bună. Ecosistemul de purificare a apei Nazzuro produce și apă frițante, apă rece sau apă fierbinte, fiind perfect adaptabil în ceea ce privește volumul, atât pentru consumul casnic, cât și pentru un hotel, un restaurant sau pentru birou. Nazzuro este soluția inovatoare, ecologică și sustenabilă a viitorului. Nazzuro elimină în totalitate necesitatea achiziționării apei din comerț. Ecosistemul Nazzuro este soluția care a fost adoptată și de anumite industrii care au nevoie de apă cu un grad de puritate foarte înalt pentru producția unor alimente de top. Azi aveți bucuria de a gusta și savura apa proaspăt purificată Nazzuro, echilibrată și mineralizată, servită în recipientele noastre premium. Iar de mâine, dacă doriți, veți putea servi apa Nazzuro direct în casa dumneavoastră, biroul sau compania pe care o dețineți. Nazzuro Aqua. Apă echilibrată. Apă bună.